volunteers who meet tonight actually at work in the countries where they are or have been helping to bring about change in people's lives. Wonderful that that will be, of course, I appreciate it's a little unrealistic. But what we will have tonight is a chance to hear those powerful first-hand accounts of the impact of some of VSO's work around the world, and to sense once again and to go away inspired by the spirit of volunteering. In the personal scrapbook of my own mind, I'm again taken back to Uganda 50 years ago, when I was doing information work as a VSO volunteer with farming and trading cooperatives. And that was a decade after VSO came into existence. It was definitely one of the most rewarding periods of my life, and a letter quoted by Dick Bird in his excellent book on the history of VSO, from an applicant explaining why they wanted to be a volunteer, is so true. My sister's friend, the applicant wrote, went on VSO, and she was never the same again. So tonight is an opportunity to celebrate the work of VSO volunteers, and above all the positive changes they make in the everyday lives of thousands of people around the world. And we'll begin with a short film showing some of the impact that volunteers have had.
We train people to be the answer. The answer to poverty. The answer to inequality and discrimination. We train for education and girls' rights. We train for the early arrivals and for the long lives. We train because every day we see someone succeed. We see knowledge shared, experience gained, and effort rewarded. We see lives changed in a single day. We see the day we live and our mothers survive the birth. We train because today's VSO trained midwives, teachers, farmers, and engineers are already training tomorrow's change makers.
Awards that we'll be presenting this evening. These have been carved by trainee carpenters from Connemara Prison in Zimbabwe. They've been involved in a VSO project which is all about teaching vocational skills, so they have a chance to build a living once they've they have a chance to build a living once they've returned to their communities. These are really beautiful, and I think we're really excited to present them to our audience this evening.
And so on to the business of the evening, awards. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the presenter of our first award, who's helping VSO develop a twinning project with a hospital in Rwanda. Please welcome Dr. Emily Mabonga, senior. Emily is senior sexual and reproductive health clinician at Lewisham and Greenwich NHS Trust.
Thank you very much. The Health Volunteer Award is to recognise volunteers working in hospitals, institutions, or communities to improve health services and rights for the most marginalised. The finalists are Alfred Kunda for lively and engaging peer education in sexual health in Zambia. Innocent Grant for founding a text line to contact young people with doctors for sexual health advice in Tanzania. Irene Butembe for supporting health-focused interactive theatre projects in Tanzania. And finally, Dr. Patience Mavugandize for improving mental health provision in Zimbabwe prisons through training and advocacy. And I am delighted to announce the winner is Irene Butembe. Irene was chosen a winner because the interactive theatre projects she has driven have reached over 15,000 people and led to a shift in attitudes to teenage pregnancy and even change in local bylaws. This will create lasting impact on girls. In addition, her work has led to partnership requests ensuring the sustainability and ongoing support for this health work. Irene. You happy? Yes. Okay. You want us to back to close it? Okay.
Irene, thanks. And many congratulations, Irene.
Thank you.
Just stand
Thank
there
you,
for a
thank
minute.
you.
That'd be great. We're going to talk a little bit about your project now for a few moments.
Yes.
So the theatre aspects of this, presumably you were already involved in theatre and drama when you volunteered, and if so, in what way?
Okay. I first volunteered with ICS project 2017, and in the project we had to deliver sessions in youth colleges, and at some point we had to do some dramas when delivering them. So at that point I had a bit of the drama experience, and then later I joined VSO as well. I continued with them in the youth programs and the interactive youth theatre.
But that drama was important as a vehicle for conveying messages about improving healthcare, wasn't it?
Yes, I'll go
And
straight.
how successful were you?
Thank you. So for the work of interactive theatre, I can say it's a success and it's more practical and a versatile tool that can be used in various issues. So for us, we're working on interactive theatre basing on marginalized girls. So it has the impact in it because we can see the community is coming over and they are making bylaws, but also girls could not have the opportunity to talk to their parents on sexual reproductive health. But on our programs, on our performances, at the end of the performance, we have them making commitments. And some of the commitments that they made are that the parents are now able to speak on their girls regarding that issue. But also we had the Anti-Teenage Pregnancy Committee made in Ngapa village, that's Lindi, southern part of Tanzania. But we also had bylaws in 80 villages that were made on supporting the girls. And these bylaws are being supported by the government, the local authorities that are working upon this government to support the girls within the villages.
Perhaps you could give us an example or two from one girl or one family of the kind of change in attitude or behavior that you thought was a real turning point, a real sort of defining moment for the project. Can you recall any particular person where you thought, we've done it, this is good?
Yes, yeah, but I recall on the school and the school in the village. In Lindi community, sometimes they have the tendency of having girls married when they are young. And so we had a performance done. And after the performance, it's when we opened the eyes of the community. So at that point, we had the request from the school headmaster, he was the teacher, who came over and told us that he's going to work upon this girl who was taken away from the class. So we always do performances, not once. We do revisit the village often. So when we went back to that village, we found that the girl is to school now, and she's back on the studies, and the parents are really supporting her education.
And the heart of this is a very good example. That's a fine story. The heart of this is trying to reduce the number of teenage pregnancies. Yes. And so what has been the impact on that of the work that you've been involved in?
We are working now in 3 different regions. We are working in southern part of Tanzania, we're working in Kagera and in Mwanza. And it has been like 2 years now implementing the program, and I can say the impact is on the commitments the community do, because we don't give the commitments to them. But after the performances, the commitments they make and the commitments they give, they are always done and followed with themselves as well as the local government. But also the bylaws made by the people, the government, because we promote social accountability as one core approach of VSO. So when we're having a performance, we make sure that we have all the stakeholders and duty bearers attending the performance. So at that point, when they do the bylaws to protect these girls, they are the ones who are doing the follow-ups on the laws and ensuring that the girls are well protected. So that's the big impact, to make sure the laws are made to protect the girls.
What is your own ambition for the whole project? What would you like to see happen, and in what ways would you like to see the life prospects for these girls continuing to change?
I'll start with me. I am the lady, and I pursued my dreams. I went to school, I graduated, and I achieved what I wanted to achieve. The thing I have now is joy, and I'm happy. So I like my other girls and marginalized girls to feel the same. I like them to be happy, and I like them to pursue the dreams they want in life. So by saying that I'll ensure I do whatever it takes to make sure that these girls are reaching on their dreams by changing the attitudes, behaviors, traditions, and culture in the people within our regions.
You've already spoken of this expanding in Tanzania. What about as a model for other countries? Do you think you've created something of a model, a way of working things, including the use of drama, for other countries to take up?
Yes, we have set an example to other countries, because in other countries, I can use VSO because I'm currently still the volunteer of VSO. They learn from what we do. I can take an example of Rwanda as a country. They're now wanting to impact that program of interactive theater to ensure that they are also advocating challenges within their community. So I can say in one way or the other, it's not within the country, but it's one way where other countries have learned this approach, and they're going to impact them to ensure that they are working on ground to support the marginalized community.
You've been a big influence. I mean, congratulations again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Right, the Education Volunteer Award recognises the special impact and commitment of a volunteer who has worked on an education project over the last year. The finalists are Anne Wambi for her work on education in emergencies in the Rohingya camps of Bangladesh, Jean-Marie Vianney Hitachi for his work as a teacher trainer focusing on improving primary education in Rwanda, Lisa Barons for her work as an education specialist raising standards in Uganda, Sunti Shah for supporting girls to stay in education through her role as an auntie champion in the Sisters for Sisters project in Nepal. I'm delighted to announce that the winner is Anne Wambui. Anne was chosen as winner because she was instrumental in implementing a home-based education system within the Rohingya refugee camps, training and mentoring big sisters and developing a training manual. 50 older girls have been trained to deliver essential education to 1,500 children in the refugee tents they call home. The judges were particularly impressed with her innovation, creating no-cost teaching materials, and her successful collaboration with community volunteers as well as camp officials.
Congratulations on your award. When I was reading your story, I was really, really inspired.
Yes.
The Rohingya refugee camp that you work is one of the largest in the world. What's the most challenging thing about your volunteering in that environment?
Thank you very much. So the most challenging thing working in a refugee camp, especially if it's your new experience, first of all is the environment itself, because the refugee environment is an environment within an environment. If you could compare the mainstream Bangladesh and the refugee camp, you could tell these are two totally different environments. So first of all, there was the livelihood part of it. Like life is very slow, and some of the things that you consider to be normal at the refugee camp, they're a nightmare. So like I could take the example of free movement, freedom of expression, and such stuff was kind of limited to the refugees. So those are some of the challenges. And of course, the language bit of it and the culture also was quite different.
And the children and young people that you work with are one of the most marginalised in that community. How does the environment impact on them?
So first of all is to identify that these people did not choose to be marginalized. Actually, it's something that found them. So first of all is to recognize them as people and as important, because they are all human beings and they have rights also, the rights of living, the rights of expression and all that. So by all means, I try to apply the human rights perspective and implement child rights in whatever area or whatever level. Yeah.
And of the children and young people you work with, what are their hopes and ambitions as humans?
So I could tell that each and every child or each and every refugee mother or big sister or young adolescent had dreams, and part of it was recognition as being important or as being people. So you could tell that they are struggling, first of all, to get an identity, because that's something that has been a struggle for many years, even after when they were in their country. So I think, first of all, they have a dream for nationality. They have a dream for recognition as people who can make changes in the society. And of course, they have personal ambitions, like the refugee mothers I worked with had the ambition, some of it being teachers. And through our program, we help some of them realize some of these dreams, although not to that big level, but at least have a status as people who have some capacity to teach.
And what keeps you motivated to continue volunteering and doing the amazing impact work that you're doing?
Yeah, I'm really motivated to continue volunteering, although I'm a returned volunteer, because I see that my work creates impact in people, or it changed life. I mean, these are some of the people who have seen war, the atrocity of war and all that. But by coming or by working with them, they are able to have hope again, the hope of living. For example, through play-based learning, I could see children healing, so having play as a therapy was something very encouraging, and I could see them them, developing courage, developing confidence, and even improving their self-esteem through what we were supporting them with. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Anne, for an amazing achievement. I think we can all agree.
Thank you.
Now taking a short break from the awards, I'm delighted to welcome back someone who was very much a highlight last year, and those of you who are here will certainly remember her well, the multi-talented Deborah Bray, engineer, social entrepreneur, and who is with us tonight, a spoken word poet. Hailing from Nigeria, Debbie is the Abuja Literary Society Poetry Slam Champion, something. And she uses her poetry to give voice to important social causes. So please put your hands together for Debbie Bray with Finn on the guitar.
Good evening, everyone. I'm immensely honored to be here. VSO has really become like family to me, and each time I am invited back, I feel very elated to be in a room with people who radiate such joy, humility, and passion, for service to others. And I'm really grateful to be here. Today I'm going to be sharing a poem celebrating and acknowledging the incredible work you do transforming people's lives and communities across the world. There was something different about today. The air felt like the land had exhaled our pain and breathed it into almost everything. My teacher's shirt was especially crisp, his eyes loud and bright like the sun, welcoming us with an untimely warmth our classroom usually only felt when he would open the vapor of his yam and gravy lunch to eat. It wasn't lunchtime this time. Everyone scurried around, the way my father did when my mother threatened to take us somewhere with meaning. So felt like a melting pot of wanderlust beings. My teacher, teachers, headmaster, us, peering through the window, looking for more. They said a special guest had come to stay. I wondered why anyone would want to make a home in a place every familiar person had run away from. Why this stranger journeyed to our village to explore the map of our veins flowing with tenacity, walking the pavements of our memories. This stranger became more than one of us. Stranger changed us, took us broken, threw herself on all our shattered pieces, determined to save every piece of us. She taught us that we deserved nice things too. That books were open hearts ready to be loved by us, and the world was ours for the taking. She ate with us, danced in houses our songs built, and left with the rhythm of our history
I'm from Sterling. I was born in Kenya.
I've lived in Manchester all my life.
I speak English, Swahili, and Kikapa.
I am fluent in my arms.
I want to be part of something genuine and worthwhile.
We all have something to offer.
When the volunteers and the community work together,
We are putting our hands up,
we're taking action, taking responsibility, to listen,
to act.
for equality. We can all move forward.
To build a better future.
Positively improve our surroundings. This is what with meaning.
I use my skills to help others.
I will burn my ear without long after me. The connections made here are love.
We are all different.
But together, we can make a lasting impact.
Well, now let me invite onto the stage to present the Livelihoods Volunteer Award, Beth Fiducia Brooks, who volunteered with ICS in Togo, now sits on the Y-Care International Youth Panel. She helped organise a youth employability and skills event for ICS alumni earlier this year.
Thank you. The Livelihoods Volunteer Award recognises the impact of a volunteer whose focus is enabling poor and marginalised people to support themselves and live more securely. The finalists are the team of volunteers from Equal Experts for sharing their expertise to create digital maps which can help link farmer groups in Bangladesh to services. Ian Domkins for his work on renewable energy projects which has helped bring solar energy to 200 poor households in Malawi. Lillian Sofsfer for supporting mentoring entrepreneurs on a local enterprise project in Tanzania. Soshitat Rum for his work developing better farming practices in rural communities in Cambodia. I'm delighted to announce that the winner is Soshitat Rum. Soshitat was chosen as winner because of the way he built trust between farmers and millers, overcoming their poor relationships by using his local knowledge, collaboration skills, and showing the mutual benefits. He has significantly improved the income of 200 farmers with changes which are both sustainable and environmental.
So many congratulations, Associate. And we have your translator with us so we can talk about your award. As we've heard, this project was about helping the poor to have better access to markets for their agricultural produce. Entirely rice or any other produce as well?
Only rice in his community.
Only rice. And what was the biggest obstacle that had to be overcome in enabling people to have better access to markets?
ទិញលក់ស្រូវការផលិតស្រូវដែលអត់សូវមានគុណភាពកសិករមានភាពមិនយល់ច្បាស់ពីអ្វីដែលតម្រូវការទីផ្សារតើកសិករទៅធ្វើរបៀបយ៉ាងម៉េចដើម្បីឲ្យកសិផលរបស់ខ្លួនហ្នឹងទទួលទៅលក់នៅលើទីផ្សារដែលគេទទួលយកបានហើយឲ្យមានតម្លៃខ្ពស់
So the big obstacle for the community and the farmers that he work with are about the market challenges, the price fluctuation, and the produce is very low quality and low yield. So it's really affect to the family incomes and also life.
And you know all about this yourself because you are a rice farmer and from a farming family.
Yeah. មានន័យថាខ្ញុំជាកសិករខ្ញុំដឹងពីអ្វីដែលតម្រូវការរបស់រោងសិនជាតម្រូវការទីផ្សារដែលគេត្រូវការហើយអញ្ចឹងបានជាខ្ញុំត្រៀបចំនៅអ្វីដែលជាល្អបង្រៀនដល់កសិករដើម្បីគាត់យល់ដឹងទាំងអស់គ្នា
He is also a farmer and he understands the root of the cost and he really want to support the farmer.
Now, as I understand it, the two ways in which you've gone about making things better for farmers like yourself is creating a thing called a sustainable rice platform and a new system of contract farming. Can you briefly, not too technically, but can you briefly explain what those two involve? Because I think they're central to understanding this.
ស្រូវ SRP ជាស្រូវដែលធ្វើឲ្យមានភាពមិនប៉ះពាល់ទៅដល់អ្នកហូបចុកមិនប៉ះពាល់ទៅដល់បរិស្ថានមានដូចជាការប្រើប្រាស់នៅគេហៅថាជីគីមីការប្រើប្រាស់ថ្នាំមួយចំនួនដើម្បីឲ្យត្រូវទៅនឹងស្រូវកុំឲ្យវាមានភាពពុលនៅក្នុងស្រូវមួយចំនួនហើយមួយទៀតនោះគឺការចុះកុងត្រាទិញលក់ជាមួយរោងម៉ាស៊ីនយើងរៀបចំជាកសិករជាច្រើនដើម្បីចុះឈ្មោះទៅធ្វើកិច្ចសន្យានៅនឹងរោងម៉ាស៊ីនកិនស្រូវ
So the SRP rice we call sustainable rice platform is the standard from the United Nations sustainable
rice platform.
Yeah, rice platform and the way that he provide the techniques to the farmer is to train farmer how to use chemical properly and the chemical will follow the standard requirement and the rice variety need to be ensure the quality of the seed as well and it also apply the climate smart technology because CSA to be resilient with the drought and flood which is the big challenging of the farmers and for the contract farming he just mentioned we bring all farmer the small holder farmer with less than 2 hectare farmers to have the contract and sell collectively through community.
So it's a contract between the farmers and the millers, the people who will actually be processing the rice.
Yeah.
And again, as I understand it, the important thing here was that everybody should understand on both sides, the farmers and those they're dealing with, all about the priorities, the challenges, but above all to build trust. Is that right?
ពាក់ព័ន្ធរឿងមានភាពធ្វើជារបៀបនៃការទិញលក់អញ្ចឹងទៅមានន័យថាកសិករយើងមានភាពជឿជាក់ទៅលើផលិតផលដែលខ្លួនបានផលិតបានហើយមានទីផ្សារច្បាស់លាស់ដើម្បីយកទៅដល់រោងម៉ាស៊ីនហើយមានតម្លៃខ្ពស់ហើយងាយស្រួលហើយណាមួយកសិករមានភាពជឿជាក់ទៅលើសហគមន៍និងរោងម៉ាស៊ីនមានភាពយល់ពីគ្នាទៅវិញទៅមក
As the community volunteer, he said he playing a role as the actor to fixing on the ground because before the contract farming, there are a lot of mistrust between members, cooperative and the other value chain actors because they don't understand the need of the miller and now they come into the one common issue and they understand each other and trust each other.
As I said right at the beginning when I was a PSO myself, it was working on information work with farming cooperatives, so I understand something about what you're saying, the breakdown of trust and so on to be overcome. So what this meant was you doing a lot of negotiating, resolving conflicts, getting people to trust one another more.
Okay, go on.
So how difficult has that been? Was it something you've done before, or was this something new for you?
តើវាលំបាកไหมសម្រាប់បងឯងទៅពេលដែលយើងសម្របសម្រួលទាំងអស់ហ្នឹង
ចឹង អ្វីដែលយើងធ្វើកន្លងមកអ្នកគ្រប់គ្នាក៏ដូចជាខ្ញុំផ្ទាល់ធ្វើអ្វីមួយតែវាតែងតែមានផលប៉ះពាល់អ្វីមួយនៅក្នុងដំណើរការហ្នឹងចឹងពាក់ព័ន្ធទៅលើគេហៅថាការលំបាកហ្នឹងមានការគេហៅថាឈ្មួញទិញលក់ស្រូវមកចាប់ដើមកលុកក្នុងសហគមន៍ធ្វើឲ្យកសិករចលាចលទៅលើការទិញលក់អញ្ចឹងយើងទៅរៀបចំថាឈ្មួញគឺការទិញលក់ស្រូវរយៈពេលខ្លីទេមួយថ្ងៃពីរថ្ងៃ
Okay, so the big challenging for him is about the power of the side selling and the power of the buyer who have money, the people who buy rice and very influenced to the smallholder farmer. And he's one of the other community volunteer who support farmer to empower farmer and cooperative to have power bargaining with those people.
Once you're challenging power, it's quite something, isn't it? And to get compromise, I gather you often had to work 24 hours a day. You had to work day and night, even though you were practicing your own farming yourself.
Sure.
Is this correct?
Yeah. ចឹងបងឯងជាកសិករខ្លួនឯងដែរចឹងបងបានអនុវត្តខ្លួនឯងដែរណា
បាទ Yeah. ហ្នឹង
Yeah.
You're modest about how tough it was, I reckon. A lot of vested interest. So when we look at the impact of all this, it has been to create more stable prices, more guaranteed quality. Is that correct? And that itself has indeed helped many more people now to get access to markets in a way they didn't have before.
ចាឥឡូវវាបានទៅនាទីផ្សារល្អហើយមានមនុស្សកើនឡើងឲ្យគេយល់ដឹងពីហ្នឹងហើយ
ដោយសារកម្មវិធីគេហៅថាស្រូវស្តង់ដារ SRP ហ្នឹងវាធ្វើឲ្យកសិករមួយចំនួនចាប់ផ្ដើមមានការបម្រែបម្រួលទៅលើការធ្វើផលិតផលរបស់ខ្លួនពីពួកអីបើសិនជាយើងមិនធ្វើនៅអ្វីដែលជាតម្រូវការរបស់ទីផ្សារទេវាពិបាកក្នុងការលក់ដូរអញ្ចឹងធ្វើឲ្យកសិករមួយចំនួនគាត់ខំប្រឹងប្រែងបន្តធ្វើនៅកម្មវិធីហ្នឹងបន្តទៀត
Yeah, he see the increasing knowledge of farmers and increasing of in membership of the cooperative, and they are apply the techniques of standard right to meet to the market need.
And farmers' income has gone up hugely.
Yeah. បងឯងអាចនិយាយពីចំណូលទៅកសិករយកទៅអីខ្លះបានទេ ពាក់ព័ន្ធនឹងការធ្វើស្រូវ SRP វាជាស្រូវដែលល្អហើយមានបច្ចេកទេសត្រឹមត្រូវហើយចំណូលរបស់កសិករនឹងគឺមានន័យថាយកទៅទិញរបស់របរមួយចំនួនសម្ភារៈទំនើបមួយចំនួនពាក់ព័ន្ធរឿងមួយចំនួនទៀតគឺបង់ថ្លៃទៅលើការសិក្សាផងកូនហើយមួយទៀតចាយសម្រាប់ជីវភាពប្រចាំថ្ងៃហើយម្យ៉ាងទៀតមានពាក់ព័ន្ធទៅលើអាចជួយទៅដល់ការមានជំងឺអីមួយចំនួនយើងមានអាចលុយអាចសល់ច្រើនជាងពីមុនមក Yeah, he saw the big change in the community. Most of the farmers who are in the contract farming who are increased incomes, he can use their incomes to support their child education, health in the family, and also buying some vehicle for their transport. They are produced to the nearby market as well.
So many more resources to make their lives better. And can you remember, can you think of perhaps one family, one farmer who've been having a particular struggle and you've made things better for now? And you would say that that is a real, and that's a real demonstration of how successful this has been. Can you think of any farmer?
ឧទាហរណ៍ជាក់ស្ដែងរូបខ្ញុំផ្ទាល់ជាកសិករហើយពីមុនមកក្នុងការធ្វើស្រូវពិបាកមែនទែនមិនដឹងថាយើងធ្វើដោយរបៀបណាធ្វើយ៉ាងម៉េចដើម្បីមានការលូតលាស់ល្អហើយដើម្បីឲ្យមានការនៅទិន្នផលស្រូវហើយធ្វើយ៉ាងណាការប្រមូលផលឲ្យបានល្អទៅតាមអ្វីដែលគេត្រូវការឥឡូវហ្នឹងគឺជាក់ស្ដែងនៅក្នុងជីវភាពរបស់ខ្ញុំមានភាព ល្អប្រសើរជាងមុន
Okay, so he reflects to himself as one of the smallholder farmer. Now his family life are better than before because he has incomes from his small plot of land because he can gain more yield and high quality of rice, and then he can use their income to support the doctor education at the primary school. Thank you.
I think picking yourself as an example is very reasonable of what can be achieved. Yeah. And what does the future hold for you now? Will you continue to do rice farming? Do you think? Are you going to continue in some other area of voluntary work? Or maybe you're going to become one of those powerful millers of the rice now? What are your plans?
ទៅថ្ងៃអនាគតមានប្រាថ្នាជាធំដុំទេគាត់ថាយើងខ្ញុំចង់ធ្វើអ្វីដែលនៅក្នុងសហគមន៍ធ្វើឲ្យសហគមន៍មានភាពរីកចម្រើនមួយហើយខ្ញុំចង់ធ្វើជាដើមឈើមួយដើមដែលមានម្លប់សាខាដើម្បីជួយទៅដល់កសិករក្នុងសហគមន៍ជួយសហគមន៍ខ្លួនឯងផ្ទាល់
Yeah, he said he doesn't have the big dream, but he just want to be the tree, the big strong tree, with the big branch and enough leaf to prevent the obstacle and the issue for farmers, including drought, climate change, and price. So he just want to be the big tree to serve the farmer in their communities.
Well, perhaps because of your labours, your tree will become part of a whole forest of farmers. Brilliant. It's so good to hear your story, the nuts and bolts of your story, because so much of these progress in these sort of areas is small steps at a time, isn't it? Thank you very much indeed, and congratulations once again.
The Resilient Communities Volunteer Award is to recognise the special impact and commitment of a volunteer who has helped communities thrive in a fragile and often changing circumstances. The finalists are Carolina Bananda for her work training young people as community volunteers in the aftermath of Cyclone Idai. Elizabeth Kazakia for her work helping coordinate the emergency response to Cyclone Idai and supporting VSA's emergency fundraising appeal. Madhavanti for her emergency response work after terrible flooding in Myanmar and building the resilience of local communities. I am delighted to announce that the winner is Elizabeth Kazakia. Elizabeth was chosen as the winner because without her hesitation, she set aside her original volunteering role to provide support in the aftermath of Cyclone Idai, playing a pivotal role in the community and helping coordinate disaster relief. In addition, she was able to provide essential updates to support VSO's emergency appeal, which resulted in the campaign raising £130,000 for vital relief work. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
When I read your inspiring story, I realised that you were actually a volunteer for communications and advocacy. When the cyclone hit, you made the decision to work in disaster relief, so you didn't need to make that choice. What motivated you to want to do that?
I'd been part of these communities for 5 years, and I'd worked on education project with them in advocacy. And so these communities were part and parcel of me. They were my friends, they were my aunties, they were my grandmothers, they were my sisters and brothers. I could hardly sit back in my comfort zone and just watch disaster take a toll on them, the natural thing was to respond. The natural thing was to put aside my own desires and comforts and respond.
Thank you. I know you're really emotional, but we're all here to support you and celebrate the amazing achievement that you made.
Thank you.
And trying to put aside your own kind of desires and everything, what was the kind of biggest challenge or the biggest even achievement that you felt that you made in doing that?
I think the biggest challenge was to respond in cases of natural disaster emergency. It's not something that I'd got training in or anything that I'd experienced. I'm from the East Africa, and cyclones is not a thing. So it was quite challenging to stand up and build resilient communities, but yet there was support. I can't say it was a standalone intervention. There was support from all other community volunteers to respond.
And what's your proudest achievement?
My proudest achievement is the intervention beyond food delivery, because in the first 30 days we distributed food to the people that were affected. But then beyond that, we were able to build a network of neighborhood resilience building where we trained 6 adolescents, and each of these 6 adolescents was to reach out to 6 households with messages on water hygiene and sanitation, messages on maintaining the girl child in education despite the effects of and impacts of the cyclone Idai. And even the question of child marriages, because at that time there was more vulnerability to child marriages because parents wanted reconstruction and they wanted it so fast after Cyclone Idai. So some of them were giving off girls in marriage. So empowering the girl child to be the voice to influence change in their communities beyond just emergency, beyond the response, to move on to be after the aftermath.
Could you tell us a story of one of those girls who were part of your intervention?
And these girls, yes, they continue to do that up to now. There is a story of one who was about to drop out of school, but then because she started with her own household to encourage the parents, telling them that, you know, Cyclone Idai is not the end of everything. They lost the school because there were actually no structures. Afterwards, they have to study under trees without normal infrastructure. But then, because of our intervention with a group of other community volunteers, this girl was able to return to school. She's now in grade 7. She was able to return to school together with encouraging all the other community adolescents in the same group to keep in school over and above the effects of Cyclone Idai.
Experience of volunteering, what's been the impact on you personally?
I think I've served 5 years, but I think the last 1 year since March 15th was the most impactful. I've been told to get out of the box and look beyond me. I've always known that it is a people-centered approach, volunteering, yeah. But then I lived it in the first, I think, 8 or 9 months, to know that I can get out of my comfort zone. I can get out from the things that I love most to respond to the needs, the real needs now, no matter the challenge of the communities that I serve.
And you're still working in the communities. What's the hope for the future? What are the next steps that need to happen?
My hope for the communities is that there will be more community volunteers, and then that the communities will be more informed of the natural disasters and be better prepared with better information on disaster risk reduction. My hope is that Mozambique and other countries that are up for worst disasters can be more empowered to respond, more empowered to be resilient and withstand the impacts of such natural disasters.
I think it's safe to say having you as an example of a volunteer in the community would be a great step towards encouraging other people to do that work as well.
Definitely.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
And then we take another break from the awards, and I'm delighted to welcome to the stage a pair of drummers showcasing the djembe and the doom-doom drums and playing rhythms from West Africa. Here are Ja Dia drummer. And prepare to be surprised.
From West Africa and all around West Africa. So it's absolute joy to be with you all today and to meet so many volunteers from long ago and present volunteers too. But first, thank you to the wonderful West African drummers. I mean, that was absolutely amazing. I absolutely loved that. So some of you have volunteered recently, and some of you, like me, volunteered many decades ago. But we all share a belief in the power of volunteering to help improve other people's lives. Now, there are actually 76,000 volunteers, VSO volunteers, over the years since 1958, when VSO was founded. Now, that was a great year because I happened to be born in the same year, 1958. And we've many volunteers in this room today we are in this room representatives of those 76,000 volunteers. This number's being increased every year thanks to programs like ICS that we've been hearing about, which sends young British people to volunteer abroad in partnership with young people from the developing world. Now, as some of you may know, I volunteered with VSO in Papua New Guinea. So in preparation for this evening, I did look through a few old albums. I have to say I haven't opened for 30 years. So I've got one or two quick slides to show you. So I was on the north coast of Papua New Guinea in a high school on a small volcanic island. Some of you may know Papua New Guinea. And this was my lovely class of students. Now, I mainly taught them maths and English, but I wanted to show you a couple of pictures. I was asked to take over 2 clubs. One was a boys' club in those days. It was all boys and then separately for girls. So with the boys, here we are making an oven out of a discarded oil drum. Now, I also was given the task of working with girls, and to begin with, I inherited a girls' sewing class. Now, I didn't know anything about sewing, and they weren't terribly enthusiastic, especially as they realized I knew absolutely nothing. So we decided to do something different, and here's my group of mechanics. They were absolutely delightful, but of course they learned, and they were so good. I mean, we got to the point where they could take the engine out of the car in an afternoon and make some changes and put it all back again. I'm embarrassed slightly of the picture on the left. That's me many years ago. And with our children, we worked with, we grew a banana plantation. Now, I was supposed to be in charge, and it was an example, and I'm sure all volunteers will share this feeling, that we are the ones doing the learning, and our students are teaching us. So this was the fruit of our labors. When I first arrived, I'd never even seen a banana tree, and here we are, and we grew a plantation, a small plantation of bananas. Some of you in the room may know Papua New Guinea, and you'll know the wonderful mumu, and on the right, you'll see a picture of a mumu where you light a fire in the ground and heat up hot rocks. And then after a few hours, you put the fire out, you wrap the food in banana leaves and cover it with earth, and you leave it for a few hours. And this is the moment of unveiling of the feast, the mumu. Sorry, I'll just get to my slide. Now, I just want to mention quickly about what has happened since then. I began in 2014 a non-profit called 1 Billion, and our goal is to reach children reading, writing, and numerate. And we've worked from the very beginning with VSO, and we deliver what we call the Unlocking Talent Initiative. What does the talent mean? It's the talent of the child. One of the things we've all seen, and those of us who've had the great privilege of working overseas, is we see the talent of children, the amazing ability to learn. And since the very beginning, we've worked with VSO. And now through the Unlocking Talent, 150,000 children have had access to tablet learning in their own language. From the beginnings in Malawi, Unlocking Talent has been seen and adopted in other countries, Uganda, Tanzania, South Africa, and beyond. And this has only been achievable through the tireless diligence of the VSO Malawi team, who've adapted and improved the implementation to ensure it works for children in the most challenging situations. And we've seen results from this. Evaluations of the initiative show that after 8 weeks, a randomized control trial equated to a year of standard practice, teaching practice in maths. Reading results have been shown to double. And one of the very interesting things is all over the world we see boys doing better at maths and girls lagging behind. But what this has shown is this initiative has removed the gender difference, and which is we feel is extremely significant. The Unlocking Talent programme has been successful because VSO has worked in the community. They've worked with the Malawi government, with the university, with the schools, with the parents, with the teachers, to ensure the courses are embedded in the curriculum and that the hardware can be maintained. And our tablets can be solar powered. So we have solar power installations. We have solar mummers who are helping maintain the solar power. And this allows the electricity to be generated even in the most remote area of Malawi. A very quick anecdote. I was approached a couple of months ago by teachers in a very expensive school in Fulham, a private school, who wanted to come and see us. And they told us they had worked they'd been using this software for the last 5 years in this very expensive school. And this is a very important message. What we all want is equity. And what we have is something that was developed in Malawi, which is now being used in expensive, with wealthy parents in this country. And this is exactly what we want to see. We want to see equity of access. And it really strikes me that what a wonderful thing it is that for the time these children are using the tablet, using the software. VSO has provided technical project management. VSO has deployed local international education experts to train teachers. And without them, this project would not be up and running. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank VSO for their partnership in this project and for the work they do, helping to advance education for some of the world's poorest people. I want to just show you a quick video of this little girl. I'm going to ask you to, while you watch it, it's only a few seconds long, think how old she is. So, believe it or not, this little girl, Tavia, is only 18 months old. I'm just showing you this slide just to give you a quick feel of what the children experience when they're using the tablet. These are all different screens from different things that the children are doing. They're learning basic numeracy in their own language, so in Kiswahili, in Chichewa, and they're learning letters, they're learning, they're getting up to reading with fluency and with comprehension. We work with with 3,200 different learning units that the child has access to. What's the most important thing? We believe that the most important thing why this can have an impact is because VSO put the child at the center. The child is the customer, and they work in the local communities. And because of the work that the VSO do in the local communities, with the ministries of education, with the teachers, they are able to hear the voice of the child at every stage of the development. And this feeds back into the software and its implementation. We've listened closely to the feedback we get from the country, from the teachers, from the child, and this continually enhances the solution. I'm just going to show you a 1-minute extract from a BBC video that was on recently that shows one of the refugee camps that VSO is working in.
And as I drive north of Lilongwe, the potential for this software becomes clear. Zaleka refugee camp is home to almost 40,000 fleeing war or famine. Here, One Billion's partner, VSO, is delivering hour-long classes. This is Integrity Church in the heart of the refugee camp. Have 50 or so children here. Tablets have been in for about a month. It's a little too early to assess the progress, but the interest is just having a look at faces. The Xprize has shown this open source software works, and that it's one of the best at delivering results. Given the right funding, it seems hard to imagine why tablet schooling won't become more widely adopted.
In the report you heard about Xprize, that this is something that was funded by Elon Musk, Global Learning Xprize. So with the development work and all that has been learnt from within Malawi and working with VSO, we were delighted to be one of the winners of this award, a Global Learning Award. The iterative feedback that working with children in challenging contexts, and we are now able to take the work that came out of this Global Learning Xprize, which involved a 15-month trial run by 2 UN agencies in Tanzania. And that work has now been able to be brought back into Malawi and beyond. I want to just sort of end by taking the opportunity to thank VSO for our partnership and for the work that they do. I have been delighted to meet a few volunteers, young and not so young, just before this session started. And it's really astonishing to see what you are achieving. And we know that being a volunteer has changed us, each of us that has had that great privilege of being a volunteer. And I look forward to seeing what all of you, the finalists, the winners, what you manage to achieve in the years to come. And now a vision of the future. And I feel that I'm just going to show you a very short little clip, and with the help of partners like VSO and attitudes like we've seen here in this room tonight, I am confident this vision can be realized. And a very final message is for all of us to aim high and to never underestimate the importance of individual action, of what each of you as one can do, and never underestimate the power of collective action, of working together, of solving some of the world's problems together. So with that thought, I would like to say thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Andrew. It was an interesting at the heart opportunity. Projects with that very much in mind, inclusion from the start, what it needs to be about. So thank you. Well, final award, Impact Beyond Volunteering, is a very special one because it was open to a public vote. It'll be presented by David Aston, VSO medical advisor and a former volunteer from Malawi. But now, to the whole nation, rather better known as the winner of this year's Great British Bake Off.
Actually, first, Andrew, I also had an oil drum oven in Papua New Guinea when I was there, and it did me quite well, so applications for the next Bake Off are open now, if you want to join. And when I volunteered in Malawi, I worked alongside the volunteers who were doing the Unlocking Talent project. So I saw the kids with the tablets, and that project was absolutely incredible. It's really, really good. So onto this award, the Impact Beyond Volunteering Award. This recognises the significant contribution that VSO volunteers can have after their placement has ended. So the finalists are Chris Evans for his work developing permaculture in Nepal, helping marginalised communities to thrive. Phil Hayward for his ongoing dedication in developing health services, especially midwifery, and for raising tens of thousands of pounds for VSO. Ruby Yap for community-based initiatives which are empowering women in Ghana. And Shariful Islam for grassroots work in Bangladesh, including offering free training to marginalised young people so they can make an independent living. And the winner is Ruby Yap. So Ruby was a VSO volunteer in Ghana in 2008. And then she has dedicated her life after the last 11 years, still living in Ghana. She started an NGO, and I'm just going to have to read off the list, because it has trained widows on literacy, drilled boreholes, vaccinated children, provided information about sexual health, and trained women on farming practices, and run sessions on leadership. So well done.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ruby. Now, you, of course, are from the Philippines, and you were recruited as a volunteer in the Philippines.
Yes.
And have since been in Ghana, so you are a South-South volunteer in every way. Your work in Ghana is very much centred around, initially anyway, supporting and building up the capacity of parent-teachers associations and school management committees. Why was that so important, and what was the state of both of those generally?
At that time, Ghana has, they need to encourage the communities to take part in the education of their children. So the government needs the help of the communities to be able to help the education of the children. And then we need to empower, VSO's work was to empower the communities to build their capacity so that they'll be involved in giving quality education to their children.
And going about that, you encouraged them to work as a coalition, I understand, didn't you?
Yes.
The parent-teacher associations and the school management committees. And that's gone on to influence what you've done since, that idea of people working as a coalition. Just tell us in a bit more detail how you built that up.
Every school, every basic school, they're required to have school management committees and parent-teachers association. And then I was posted in a municipality of WA, and then we have 86 schools. So I have to go around all the 86 schools in the municipality and then empower the communities, empower the school management and the PTAs, and then after that, we have to build the capacity. But at that time, we need to encourage the women to come out and participate and give their voice to the, the organization.
How open did you find people, and since indeed in the work you continue to do in Ghana, how open have you found people to being innovative in thinking about better quality education? Because that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yes. Actually, they have the sense of being innovative, but you need to encourage them. You need to give them a pat on the back and say, hey, that's good. That's a good concept. That's a good thing to do. But they have the concept in themselves, but you just need to push it.
And what's been your best example of that, perhaps? A really good moment, and you thought,
okay. There was I was struggling to put up the women participation in the Parent Teachers Association. And then I really need to come up at least 2/3, that we need to have a 2/3 participation of women in the Parent Teachers Association. And I was struggling when we were going around the communities that there's no women representation. And we called up a meeting, and then in that meeting, there's 2 women only. A 60-year-old woman and a 70-year-old woman. And I said, that's enough for me. That's okay for me to see that there's 2 women. But then I realized they have this saying in Ghana that if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. So that's put in my thing that, okay, I really need to work on that. And I really need to help that women. So I told them that what you have done is really good. You need to come up and speak more and then be there for your communities.
Not unique to Ghana, I think, that particular proposition about education. So you went on to found an NGO called Coalition for Change, alleviating poverty, supporting livelihoods, sustainable agriculture, literacy projects, sweet potato farming, groundnuts farming, and drilling of a borehole. Is there anything you haven't done? It's breathtaking. But where else did you get the funding for all of this?
That's a challenge. I have to go around and have some friends that they continue to help me out. And then I have to look out in the internet and go for funding and have to apply. And I have some friends also that was connected to me by former VSOs, and former VSO colleagues are also there to help me out.
And I imagine you're pretty persuasive. And in a sentence, what would you say VSO's impact has been on you?
Wow, it's tremendous. It changed me to a different person. Actually, it made me who I am now, and I didn't realize that I am capable of what I am doing, because it's really a total shift of what I am doing before. And it is through VSO that I was able to realize that I can do something to make the world a better place in my own ways.
Thank you very much indeed. Many congratulations. Well, our awards are finished, and I hope you've been as inspired as we have, I'm sure, by hearing about the achievements of volunteers. And we should congratulate too all those who were nominated and also considered for these awards, very much sharing in this. And it now gives me great pleasure to invite VSO's Chief Executive to the stage for some final words. Please welcome onto the stage Philip Goodman.
So I can tell I've been doing this job a long while, because I'm starting to wear glasses now in order to be able to read my notes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a very great honour and a privilege indeed to be Chief Executive of this wonderful organisation, and just hearing the awards tonight again inspires me. I'm very lucky because I get to travel and see the work on the ground, and that makes me a very lucky person indeed. It's an honour to be here tonight, celebrating with all of you, our volunteers, our supporters and staff. And if I may start also by just thanking all the people who have sponsored this evening's event, and particularly, Dave, to thank the NAU-WST, the Teachers Union, who are our lead sponsor and have sponsored this event for many years. So thank you ever so much for your support. So as Chief Executive, I'm often seen as the public face of VSO, and I've now had to resign myself to the fact that as of last month, whatever profile I did have out there has been completely eclipsed by someone else at VSO, following David Atherton's triumph on the Great British Bake Off. You know, I have a daughter who wonders what on earth I do and wonders whether it's important sometimes. But I said I knew David Atherton, so now she knows. She said, well, that's important. You must know important people. I am, and I have to say, delighted that David has received recognition both for his star baking and, importantly, for his work with VSO. And I think David's win showed millions of people across the country just what makes our volunteers so special. Their dedication, their ability to connect with others of all backgrounds, and of course, the way they keep calm under pressure. And as we hear now, baking in various forms of objects and so on. I think it also shows that, David, nice guys win, because you are an extremely nice guy. And so that alone for me is great. But well done, David, and it's great you're able to present an award tonight. But even apart from the bake-off, this has been a really exciting year for VSO in so many ways. And let me just give a few of those highlights from our perspective. So just last month, VSO organised this year's International Volunteer Cooperation Organisation Conference, IVCO, in Kigali in Rwanda. And that brought together over 40 agencies from, agencies from over 40 countries to look at how we can improve standards in volunteering worldwide. And VSO, with the support of the UK's Department for International Development, has been working over the last 2 years to develop a global standard for volunteering for development. And we launched that new global standard in Kigali. And that is an important step forward in making sure that standards and quality are being delivered worldwide. Our aim through that standard is to drive standards up across the sector. And as I say, we're working with hundreds of organisations around the world to make this a reality. And I think just making sure that we are making that possible, not just for organisations from the global north, but making sure that volunteering standards across the global south are being raised, and that is inclusive. Looking at the big picture at VSO, this year we updated our mission and our mission statement to reflect our 4 core values: collaboration, knowledge, inclusion, and integrity. And for us, collaboration means that we build partnerships that help build a fairer world for everyone, putting what we call primary actors, those people we support, right at the centre of our approach. Knowledge, for us, means ensuring that we have evidence and insight, and that guides our work. So we're not just hoping with good intention. We're building work out of stuff that we know works, which is why we work with 1 billion, because we know we're building an evidence base and we know we can deliver that at scale. Inclusion means that those who've been denied choice and opportunity are right at the heart of decision making. And integrity means that our commitment to safeguarding, to high standards are right at the heart of everything we do, taking a zero-tolerance approach to abuse and harm, being open, transparent, and accountable in every aspect of our work. Those values are absolutely crucial. They are my values, they are our values, and it's important they run through all our work, and that we as an organisation champion them wherever we are working. Just speaking about programming and what we've been doing, you've seen some amazing examples of some of our work. You heard Elizabeth's story, the work that we did in Mozambique this year after the devastation of Cyclone Idai is awe-inspiring. I was with the team in Mozambique 6 weeks ago, Elizabeth, and I was able to sit with the team just hearing the detail of the work. And you've heard a little bit of Elizabeth's story. And you could see how emotional she was, because as she said, that's our community. And I think you really represented that, Elizabeth. This is our community. And this is why we don't step away when disasters happen, because these are our communities and we're part of them. But just hearing the story from the team of how we respond and the detail of it, I'm waiting for the film to be made, actually, because it's just an incredible story. But VSO immediately joined emergency relief efforts. And importantly, that was assisted, as Elizabeth talked about, it was assisted by 750 in-country community volunteers that we'd been training over the previous 18 months. They'd been trained in disaster preparedness, and in the immediate aftermath of that disaster, they reached over 13,000 people, which is an incredible result. And again, it's important in terms of our work that we're making sure that communities are prepared in advance of disasters and that community volunteers are in place because they are best placed to respond. In Nepal, our Sisters for Sisters program is helping more young girls stay in school. In Nigeria, our Improving Market Access for the Poor program is helping rural farmers to increase their harvests. And in Sierra Leone, our work with Doctors for Development is improving health outcomes for thousands of mothers and babies and saving lives. The impact of these programs and many dozens of others means that this year already we've reached over 2 million people in our programming. And that's only been possible through the incredible efforts of our supporters and volunteers. And tonight, I think we've celebrated the very best of them. But there are thousands more. Over this year, we will have had 4,500 volunteers in our programs, all of them doing amazing work and delivering that change. But we have ambition to deliver much more. And I hope that the stories that you've heard tonight will inspire you to continue supporting our vital work in whatever way you can, whether that's attending our events, whether that's remembering us in your will or continuing to volunteer with us. I want to take this opportunity to say a very sincere thank you on behalf of VSO. And next year, as I say, we have an ambition to reach even more people, scaling up our programs and indeed improving standards across the sector. What we do is only possible because of you, and I want to say a big, big thank you to all of you. Thank you ever so much, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Before we move on to the celebratory awards reception, I'd also like to thank everyone here for the support they give to VSO. All the wonderful projects we've heard about this evening couldn't happen obviously without funding, and one important source of funding is, as Philip just mentioned, from people leaving gifts in their wills. And here's one final film which helps explain why that is so important.
People have always had the urge to pass things on. We pass on knowledge, skills, even names. Maybe we'll pass on our eye colour or a family tradition. We share the good times and reach out to each other when things go wrong. Once we pass on, everything of ourselves that we share lives on in places and people we love. We collaborate, we build communities, we teach, we learn. We do it because when we give, we get so much more back than we ever expected. That's the spirit of human kindness. Why we volunteer, why we step up for each other. We invest in people, because the fruits of our labours grow riper when we work together. We nurture new life, safely ushering in the next generation, ready to make their mark. We pass on our wisdom, so that those who come after us can reach their full potential and build on our legacy to make a better world. Because when you've built something, it feels good to pass it on to those that need it most. So it's good to ask yourself, every once in a while, what will you pass on?
So VSO has changed you, and you were never the same again, I know that feeling. You will always have, through VSO, a chance to change other people's lives in many different ways. Outside in the reception, you'll find a range of stands, including one of our legacies, where you can find out more about how you can pass on. Please do go enjoy a drink, a chat with VSO staff and volunteers.
And on behalf of VSO, I just want to say thank you